Hello, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and today we're doing Sabrina Carpenter albums, pick my reads for the week. But before we hop in the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love all things music. So I'm going to start this new series on this channel where my favorite music or pop culture picks my reads for a week. I think it's combining two of my loves, which is music, TV, film, and so on and so forth, which I talk a lot more about over on my Taylor Made Pop Culture channel, and I did react to Sabrina's newest album over there if you're curious about it. But I figured since we are coming off the high of Sabrina Carpenter releasing her newest album, we would kick off the series with Sabrina Carpenter albums. Now, I have been listening to Sabrina since her first debut album over a decade ago when I was like a freshman in high school or in middle school, about the same age. She's about 1 year older than me, so we're about the same age. So I have a lot of lengthy knowledge about the albums that are coming to be. So I put all of the albums into a random, name generator. So we have the 7 albums that I added in, non-album / features. This will be us picking books based off of any of the non-album singles like Smoke and Fire, or some of her features on like songs such as Wow with Zara Larsson, On My Way, and so on and so forth. And then there is her soundtrack work. We obviously know she was a Disney girly, and she's done a couple songs for soundtracks, like for the Work It movie or for her show Girl Meets World. So if we land on those, then we're going to pick something based off of that. Now, I have already spun the wheel because I film on my camera, so you're going to see on the screen that the first album that we spun was Singular Act 1. So I'm going to have to think through a little bit about what I want to pick for Singular Act 1. To me, there's going to be 3 tiers of this. So first tier, now I am trying to pick solely off of my Kindle TBR, my physical TBR, so I'm not going out and buying books, and I'm making it through both of those TBRs. So the first criteria, first thing we're going to try meet, does it meet the theming or like the theming or lyrics in all the songs on the album? Like, can we match the concept and themes? Second, if we can't meet that, then we're going to try and match the theming of the music video and artwork and so on and so forth. For example, for Singular, it is very much so like a sexy city vibe going on with both of the Singular Act 1 and 2. And if all else fails and I can't seem to find a book on either my physical TBR or on my Kindle TBR to meet those 2 criteria, we will simply go by the album colors. So in this case, it'll be lots of like blacks and like oranges and yellows. So let me have a perusal of my shelves, and then I'll get back to you as to what our first book is going to be for Singular Act 1. So I've been looking through the lyrics of Singular Act 1 and trying to really gauge more of like the theming of the album, and you have some pretty hard-hitting bangers from this album. Obviously, Sue Me, Paris, and Almost Love, those were the singles. I feel like they really paint this picture of like, an almost like a taste of what could be love, but you're not quite sure you're there. Paris, obviously we could have chosen something set in Paris or a love story that is set abroad from the US, and there was one that I was considering, but I feel like after looking through the lyrics of some of the songs, I think I have one that fits more perfectly to what we're doing. Now, I'm going off of this standard like 8 or 9 track album, because on like the Japanese deluxe edition, she did add in some of her non-album singles, like Why, which we'll save if we land on that one. But a lot of the lyrics are talking about sort of like being shown off in public and so on and so forth, like how like this isn't a perfect relationship, like how it's kind of like spicy and sexual. Then there is the song Diamonds Are Forever, which leads me towards something like a billionaire, something expensive, like kind of this back and forth of like, I don't know about you, like you keep hitting me up at random times. Like this is like both a hidden, forbidden relationship, but also like a relationship that I might want to pursue, but maybe shouldn't pursue. Like you're not necessarily the best person, but I'm also like, yeah. And then I also feel like the Singular era really reflects that 18 to 20 era of like being young and young love and kind of like being the youngest sibling situation. And I feel like during this era she did release a couple songs talking about being the youngest sibling. So all else said, well, I did consider rewinding it back from Liz Tom Forte just because of like this city setting and like rich like basketball player. I think that might fit something better. I chose one that is also on my TBR for this month, and that is Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. In this one, we are following Lorenzo, who is the bad boy who most people in town really don't like, but he's got a lot of money and he's trying to gain like a mayoral race or win the mayoral race. And he enlists the help of like a former fling who just happens to be the little sister of the girl from book one. And that girl and her partner really do not like Lorenzo, so they're having to keep this a secret. So we have the whole, like, you know, having to keep things in secret, like having to put a performance on, like in songs like Hold Tight. I feel like Sue Me really gives like some of like the sassy energy that I feel like Lorenzo, and I don't remember her name, but I feel like that gives the energy. And then plus Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, obviously, if you go and date a billionaire, you gonna want the money. So I feel like that fits the vibe. Not quite city, but I feel like, you know, this could really work with it. So I will check back in with you. Technically, I'm gonna start the vlog tomorrow in terms of like the reading portions, just because I'm about to finish up one more book that's different from this vlog tonight. So I will fill you in on my thoughts starting tomorrow, which is Friday, September 12th. And there's a lot of good music coming out tomorrow, so I will see you then. Okay, so it is Friday evening. I'm currently waiting to see what this Taylor Swift, like, announcement or countdown is going to look like, because her page has been stuck growing that little glittery bar for the last 24 hours. But supposedly things are going to happen at 7 o'clock. I got one chapter into my book last night. All I know is that they met on an anonymous dating app, didn't know who each other was, and they were communicating all this time. And then they met up, found out who each other was at a Halloween party, and it didn't go too hot. But yeah, I'll update you more tomorrow, because today has just been like a really chill day. Just watched a new Netflix rom-com. About to have dinner. Finished off my pumpkin cake. It's been good. It's been good, but it's been chill. And I feel like that's how the weekend's gonna go. It's also nice and toasty outside still for fall, so that's why the fan's going. But I will see y'all on the next clip. So it is Saturday afternoon. I pretty much spent all of yesterday night reading. I got to 51% in this book. And for a book that's supposedly 500 pages long, it feels like it's been flying by, which technically I know I'm only making through like 10% an hour from my calculations. So I don't know how flying by it is, but I'm already 50% of the way through. And I really only, like, I read one chapter the night before, and this video officially started yesterday, and I read like 21, 23 chapters yesterday. Also, update on the Taylor Swift situation. The bar countdown ended, and we just got a silent little clip on Spotify. So, not a whole lot to talk about there. Who knows? Maybe we'll get more. But so far in the book, it's interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I don't think it's a 5-star read. And I've heard some criticisms of this book so far of people saying, like, this book just doesn't, like, they aren't as invested in the characters. And I feel like this definitely is more slow burn than I would usually enjoy. But I'm really liking Lorenzo and Lily. I feel like it's kind of like pulling at teeth to get them to actually communicate with each other. And I know that the main conflict, probably what's going to be a third act breakup, is miscommunication. But it's interesting kind of seeing them both connect on they both have connections in very similar ways regarding the grief around the loss of their parents, both in that sense. And I think both of them have a big bone to pick with the current mayor and the mayor's family, with all the stuff that they've done to, like, respectively ruin their lives. But I'm excited because Lorenzo, he is dealing with OCD, and he has a hard time opening up to people about it and about his past and his family. But for some reason with Lily, it seems that he can't help himself. And right now, Lily's like, he's going to have to show me that he wants me. And I'm like, yes, girl. Yes, girl. We're at a point where they're having to, like, interact with Julian and Dahlia. And if we know anything, Julian does not like Lorenzo. So I'm curious to see if we can also build up a little bromance situation there. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm probably honestly, like, if I'm still in a reading mood tonight, which I have been, because, like, I've just been craving a good rom-com romance. Like, I really am, like, craving these romances. I'll probably end up finishing this tonight, and then we can move on to our next Sabrina Carpenter pick. I have a couple in mind that I would like to spin, but hey, we'll see. It's all up to chance in this one. But so far, Love Arranged, I'm really enjoying. And in terms of spicy levels, it's not as spicy as some of the romances that I've read by Lauren Asher. So, but we haven't really gotten to. She usually, at this point in her new writing style, the spice doesn't come until past the halfway mark, so we'll see. I finished Love Arranged last night, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. I don't know if it was a premature 5 stars, but I felt like this was just the kind of book and the kind of thing I needed, because like I literally could not put it down. Like a 500-page book flew by in 2 nights, and it was just beautiful. It was heartwarming. It had a lot of heart and soul and a lot of discussion around grief, which if you don't know anything about me, grief in books is something that I tend to connect with a lot just because of experiences I have in life. And I feel like I feel like Lorenzo and Lily's relationship was so not the typical relationship you're looking at that was like their relationship was full of a lot of like push and pull of like both of them having to work on themselves and work through a lot of things and having to compromise but also learn grace with each other, and I think it was just so beautiful. I also gave it like a 1 on the chili spice range. It really wasn't that particularly spicy, but what we did get was quite fun. And in terms of whether or not this fits the Singular Act 1 vibe, I've been listening to Singular Act 1 today, and I feel like, yeah, I can see it. I feel like the song Almost Love is truly encapsulating, because the entire book, they're like, everyone's like, the entire book, because Lily's like, are we in love? Like, I feel like we could be in love, but are we in love? Is it almost love situation? Plus, Lily is a florist, and if you think of the Almost Love music video, there's a lot of flowers. And I also feel like the Sumi video and Almost Love really had that pink aesthetic to it, and Lily's favorite color is pink. So yeah, I feel like this could really fit the Singular Act 1 vibes. But since I finished that book last night, we are moving into picking our next one, and of course I picked it last night before I went to sleep. As you can see on the screen, the one that eventually won was her latest album, Man's Best Friend. So when you think of Man's Best Friend, from what I've been hearing, one, sonically and stylistically wise, there is a historical element to that, so we could go down a historical route. The themings on the album really are talking about a back and forth kind of toxic relationship that you're not quite ready to let go of. Like, she's constantly wishing for him to be better or to show up or to come back, or she's always like, yeah, we're gonna come back and meet again. Then you also have that little like sexual element with House Tour and When Did You Get Hot. So for some reason, the book that came to mind, I don't know if this was what I thought would come to mind originally, but I chose Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi. This is the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series. Now, what I'm about to say may be spoilers, but when I thought about this book and this series, because there is some romance that does take place in this series that I feel like is very, very much so. When Did You Get Hot? Her first time, like, recognizing, like, Aaron Warner and being like, something like... And I also think I connect with this one just because, like, I did not see the vision as a line from that song, and I tell everyone, I'm like, the first book I did not see the Aaron vision, and I don't think Juliet did. But also I feel like My Man on Willpower and We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night, kind of those back and forth, like, not ready to let go situations and realizing that someone is pulling away from you, really heavily fits how Adam and Juliet's relationship has gone in the last 2 books. So... yeah, so the next book that we're going to pick for Man's Best Friend is Ignite Me. And I'm happy to, because this finishes the first original trilogy of the Shatter Me series. So I will fill you in when I actually get to dive in. But where we left off from the last book has me excited. So I didn't read anything last night on Ignite Me, but I picked it up this morning, and I in fact have not stopped reading it for the last couple hours. I'm already more than halfway through the book. I'm probably just going to read until I finish it today. I don't know what it is, but I texted my friend last night saying that I think I'm slowly or finally getting out of my life slump that I've been in for the last year. And I don't know if it's like kind of just sitting down and just like nonstop reading or something, but it kind of, I don't know. There's been a lot of things going in my life related to like personal loss and then like my physical health taking a turn this year. And it kind of feels like in this moment, like maybe not reading these books is healing me, but it feels like by the process of really getting back and invested in reading and like just wanting to sit and like take the time for myself to sit back and read these things has felt a little bit like the healing process that I think I've been putting off for years has finally started to take over, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that right now. But on to the book so far. I'm really loving it. I'm obviously flying through it. I'm gonna finish the book probably in the next couple of hours. It's interesting to see the relationship between Juliet, Warner, and Adam, and how that's working out, because I do feel like man's best friend is working out, because the toxic back and forth between everyone, and like Adam really fits my man on willpower. I feel like, holy, that song is meant for him. I'm just waiting for Juliet to get to her goodbye moment. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm excited. I'm loving the process of reading right now. I actually need to stop, because along with my physical health problems, what I'm having to come to terms with is realizing that since my body has no natural hunger cues and stuff like that, I will either like eat a whole lot in one sitting, or I won't remember to eat at all. So I haven't eaten today, and it's been hours upon hours since I've woken up. There have been times where I would like forget to eat until like the end of the day, which is not good. So that is something having to deal with. I think now I'm just being confronted with the fact that I know my body doesn't function like normal, or like most people's does. And I'm having to come to terms with the fact that it's going to take a lot of effort on my part to really get myself to where I want to be physically. Which is interesting, because reading this book, Juliet is having to come to terms with how her body is and how it functions in the world, given the fact that her body's never been able to act like the same way as the rest of the natural world. So yeah, a little parallel. But now I'm going to actually eat, take my vitamins and my medication, and then I'm probably going to dive back into reading this again. But so far, so good. I finished Ignite Me, and yes, it was 5 stars, and I'd probably give it like a 1.5 on the chili spice rating. I will say, for a YA series, the first book, completely YA. The next 2 books, kind of slightly moving to the new adult territory, because there are progressively spicier scenes that take place in the series, so do keep that in mind. This is an odd note, but the Power Rangers were brought up in this series, and that, in fact, or like a brief mention of Power Rangers, and that, in fact, made me happy. Otherwise, I think for a conclusion to like the original trilogy, because I know she eventually carried the story on, beautiful. The romance wrapped up in a way that I liked, the friendships and everything. I think it's a really quick, fast read. I think this series, while I still enjoy it as an adult, I think if you are in that middle school, freshman, like age range that this is really designed and geared towards, this would be so good. And in terms of whether or not it fits the man's best friend, I do think there are definitely some songs on Man's Best Friend that you could relate to some of the characters in here. Like I said, My Man on Willpower, We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night, is really indicative of, I feel like, the back and forth relationship between Adam and Juliet, and then some of that also with Adam and Warner, and so on and so forth. But that is our second book, and I have spun the wheel, as you will see on the screen. And the next one we're picking from is Eyes Wide Open, her debut album. So this album can pretty easily be encapsulated by 3 concepts. So first crushes and first love. She really talks about, being in love and not being too young to be in love, and really like finding someone that she really connects with. And then also family, and like loving your family and respecting your family, like in songs like Eyes Wide Open. And then lastly, it really encapsulates young girls and girlhood at the time. I think a YA story would be really good for this. So I'm going to try to find something that sort of has that, like, kind of like an exploration of your youth and growing up. And I'll get back to you when I find it. But right now, having spent my entire day reading this book, I think I need to go and dive in and do some other things, maybe some grocery shopping, and some editing on some videos, because I have not left my bed much today other than to finally eat some food, which I need to restock, because again, like I said, I need to go grocery shopping. But hey, love this, highly recommend. If you read the first book and you're like, yeah, not for me, just understand, like, the series gets progressively better. So just keep that in mind. For Eyes Wide Open, I picked I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. This is the final book in their backlog that I haven't read. And this one, to me, is really calling out to songs like Eyes Wide Open, In the Middle of Starting Over. Sort of that coming of age, finding your place in the world idea. And romance and crushes is talked about on the album. And I do know that Alice Oseman's books tend to, while they have an overarching theme of like a YA coming of age general fiction novel, it really does dive a lot into not only friendships, but there's usually a subplot of romance that goes on with it. But according to the back, it said, for Angel, life is about one thing, the Ark, a pop rock trio of teenage boys taking the world by storm. Being part of the Ark's fandom has given her everything she loves, her friend Julia, her dreams, her place in the world. Jimmy owes everything to the Ark. He's their frontman, and playing in a band while with his mates is all he ever dreamed of doing. But dreams don't always turn out the way you think, and when Jimmy and Angel are unexpectedly thrust together, they find out how strange and surprising facing up to reality can be. Something tells me the middle of Starting Over is going to be heavily related to this book. I'm going to check to see, because I've been able to find other Alice Oseman works on Kindle Unlimited. I'm going to check to see if I can read this on there. If not, we'll see when I decide to pick it up again. But like I said, I need to go accomplish other things today. I'm so glad that I'm so back in a reading mood. And 2 5-stars back to back in one video. I'm glad I wasn't filming of this video ends when I find a 5-star, because that would have been absolutely short. Alright, I'll see y'all when I have some more updates on this. I was born for this morning. I have made it through like the part 1, which it's divided up by days of the week. So I've made it through the Monday section so far. So we've been introduced to our main characters, which are Angel and Jimmy. Jimmy is a part of the band that Angel is so obsessed with. Like, she is deep in the fandom. Reading this is giving a bit like, oh no, I'm feeling like me as the Swiftie is relating a little too hard to the fandom situation that's going on here. But Jimmy, we find out at the beginning that Jimmy is transgender, and he is the frontman for this very popular British boy band that is making its way over to the US, and he is about to embark on a world tour. But he is currently homesick, and he's dealing with a lot of heavy anxiety. And then on the part of Angel, she also seems to deal with a lot of social anxiety herself. And she's meeting up with her online bestie for the first time so that they can go out to this meet and greet with the Ark the following week. Unbeknownst to her, though, her bestie has invited someone new along to the trip, and Angel's like, this is weird. I am getting the vibes that Angel falls on the Arrow Ace spectrum from what I've been given. So far, it's really interesting. You're really exploring fandom and fandom culture on both sides of, like, one on part of Angel, the other on part of Jimmy, who is the person being stanned and fanned. So it's definitely interesting. Now, I find with these Alice Oseman books, they are more of a fiction read. So they aren't really fast-paced for me, so I never really make it through them quickly. I haven't this year. So we'll see how it is. I think my 5-star run might have come to an end. I don't know how I'll feel coming to end this, because I'm only, let's see how many pages I'm in. I'm only 50 pages in to this story so far. But yeah, I mean, it's known, like, straight fiction isn't necessarily my, like, favorite thing to read. So we'll see how it is. But yeah, I think for Eyes Wide Open, a good coming of age story and a finding yourself story is really a really good choice. It is Wednesday. I haven't really read it too much further in I Was Born for this, but I did just watch the finale of The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I felt like I needed to come on here and just say, one, do we think that we are getting like a little special like movie wrapping up the aftermath of Belly and Conrad getting back together? Because the minute I saw that dress was about to play, I was like, oh, we are so back. We are so set. We are so set. Conrad Fisher, Connie baby, you have some special things about you that apparently the world did not know, because that whole sequence was just like, that man is pining, that man is yearning, that man knows what he wants, and he's been waiting. He's been in a drought for like 5 years, and he said, I'm back. And ooh. Now I need to find me something to watch between now and when 911 and The Rookie start up this fall. I highly recommend. I assume everyone at this point has probably already seen Jenny Hans to All the Boys I've Loved Before and The Summer I Turned Pretty. But not a lot of y'all are talking about XO Kitty, and we're getting season 3 next year. And if you want messy, if you want like the mess of a Jenny Han story but make it gayer, make it more gay, you want to watch that show. You want to go watch that show. Also, it's my baking day, and I have made some like no-bake like vegan fudge. Whew. I'm so excited to try that. I did lick up the batter because it was good. It was good. Also, I just spent like 20 to 30 minutes writing up this like the whole description and everything for one of the weeks that I'm planning out my class for. And then I just went, and apparently none of that saved. And I said, nope, not doing that again today. No. But yeah, videos and TikToks are filmed for the day. I might edit some more, or edit some today on a vlog that you're going to be, or edit more on this vlog. And then my Jade video that should be coming up on my other channel tomorrow, Friday. Because it's another major release week. Another major release week. Madison Beer. Demi just announced her new album. Oh, Siren Society's giving us new music. Oh, this Friday. Perry just teased the snippets for all of her. Also, yes, Jade's new album. Thoughts on Jade's new album? I think right now Angel of My Dreams and FUFN still supreme. But off of what we've heard on the new album, Headache, Silent Disco, and Glitch. Pop perfection. But I'm going to hop out and maybe try some fudge and read some more. I'm also going to finish up Criminal Minds because I did not finish up the new seasons at all this year. So I'm like 5 episodes from the end. I will see y'all in the next clip. All right, so I am, 250 pages into I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. I do plan on finishing this book tonight, or at least I'm going to try to, and I'm probably going to make this the last book for this video because I've got a couple books left on my TBR this month that I would like to read before the month's up. So far, this book, I think I had said that Alice Oseman books kind of take me a little while to get through. Well, this one isn't flying by the way that I felt like my last 2 5-star reads were doing, which obviously you saw in this video. Surprisingly, like once you get into it, this book is moving. Like the chapters get shorter. It's like very staccato in its rhythm, going back and forth, seeing it from the fans' perspective of Angel and then the actual band and performers' perspective in Jimmy. And let's just say they're handling a lot of hard topics here. The character of Lister, oh my god, he's bisexual, and there was just this conversation that took place between him and Jimmy, because everyone has this perception of him being this constantly promiscuous party boy lifestyle, and him talking about, like, you know, contrary to popular belief, I'm not just, like, the promiscuous can never, like, be faithful bisexual person. I'm actually not that person, and I would appreciate if you don't stereotype me like that. And then you're also dealing with people with having different, like, social anxieties and actual panic attacks. As someone who's dealt with panic attacks in the back, Jimmy's story is just like, oh my god. And we've reached a point where Jimmy and Angel have actually met in real life, and it was just, oof. There's a lot of things that go on here. As someone who is a part of fandom culture, especially on my other channel, who really dives into it, I think this one heavily illustrates the very common topic right now about the parasocial relationship and like blurring the boundaries between artist and human, especially like with Chappell Roan speaking up about it lately, kind of Taylor Swift saying that like my life kind of isn't real and stuff like that, and hearing that in songs, you know, I think was it like The Lucky One and stuff like that. It's just, you can kind of see this. So I feel like if you are a part of fandom culture and stan culture, I feel like this would be an interesting read to look at. I was thinking about this, and knowing that The Life of a Showgirl comes out next month, obviously this is Orange, Life of Showgirl, Orange. I feel like this would be a good read to pick up before that, because this heavily illustrates like the impact of like fandom culture and lack of privacy and personal, like constantly invasive like rhetoric. So, man, this one is getting interesting. It might be one of my favorite Alice Oseman books. I need to see how it ends, because we're kind of in the aftermath of what was a very big scene right now. And it's interesting. I'll keep you updated. I finished I Was Born for This. I do think I, in fact, need to sit on my rating a little for this, because while I really enjoyed this book and the conversations it had, I don't know. It had a bit of a strong emotional impact on me in that ending. I mean, once we started getting there, I'm like, wait, is this about to happen? Like, would this book go there? I'm like, oh, the book went there. The book went there. I also feel like it's a little open-ended as to some things. Like, I kind of want to know what happens to these characters. I want, like, a sequel to them. I do think we see Juliet come up in the book Loveless, which I've already read. I don't know. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. I think 4 stars is solid because I really did enjoy this, but I don't think it was a mind-blowing read for me. But if you want an emotional read that particularly addresses fandom culture, especially mental health and everything, like this one really dives heavily into mental health and finding yourself. And in terms of whether or not this fits Eyes Wide Open, I do believe that this book in itself captures coming of age and having to learn who you are, especially because Sabrina, I guess when she released Eyes Wide Open, she was an up-and-coming star in the music industry, and I feel like this one is talking about a young person coming up into this industry and kind of like being a little naive about what it was like and then slowly figuring out and be like, well, shit, now things gotta change. So yeah, 4 stars. We had 2 5 stars, 1 4 star in this video. I do believe, even though I could probably draw another one because we have like another, I don't know, 12, 24 hours that we could have pushed this out if we want to do like a full week for the video, but I think I'm going to end it there and round it out at 3 because I have one book that I really want to start now that I'm just not going to include in this video. Let me know what you thought about the books. Are you excited to read any of these? Are you going to be letting some Sabrina Carpenter albums pick your next reads, and what are your favorite Sabrina Carpenter songs? And I will see y'all in the next one, which will probably, well, I'm just going to have to say it here, since Taylor Swift's releasing her album next month, it will be Taylor Swift's album to pick my reads, so that's not going to be a surprise. I'll see y'all in the next one.